Welcome to the 12th as well as the last session of the art and science of eating. I was telling about the resting process in the previous session, and I was stressing that resting is so important for every living being. If you observe nature, you will see that except for the human being who is using artificial light for his or her lifestyle, all other general living beings, they go to sleep as soon as sunset happens and they wake up when sunrise happens, which means effectively 10 to 12 hours of rest they will have. And the nocturnal animals and birds, even in the daytime they will be sleeping, including bats and owls. Daytime they will be sleeping, and at the night time they will be moving out. So God has designed a body in such a way that if at all it will have a 12 hours of activity, it should have a 12 hours of rest. That is how He has designed the living beings, especially the birds and mammals and reptiles who are having a lot of moving activity and other physical activities. Their body requires enough rest for its own healing. Just to give an example, when you wake up in the morning, if you feel very fresh, then it means that you have good amount of health, and during your sleep at night enough healing has happened. When you wake up in the morning, if you have no such cheerfulness or freshness, then it means that the body is telling you that the rest has been inadequate. In general, in the body, two processes happen: anabolism and catabolism. Together, it is called as metabolism. Removal of the dead cells will happen, and the production of the new cells will happen regularly, mostly at night time. It is at night time only or during your sleep only that maximum secretion of hormones will happen, because at the daytime the body will be involved in only digestion and excretion and all other physical activities. So the brain will not be focusing more on other activities which are supposed to happen at the background. In the software language they call it as front end and back end. The front end is the visible portion. At the back end there's an enormous job waiting. Now if the back end is affected, equally the front end also will be affected. So same way, in the awakened state, body is involved in so many other physical activities. So at that time, for the secretion of hormones, the body does not find time at all. That is why during sleep only, maximum amount of hormones are secreted. I had given an example of a sleeping baby. A baby sleeps for nearly 18 hours per day, which means that during its sleep only, the body keeps on secreting those hormones and the body keeps growing. So that way, rest is basically required for the body for its own internal mechanisms. If the rest is ignored, then gradually, in many other ways, health will be affected. I told you that the modern civilized human beings have been using artificial light. Now, because of this 21st century lifestyle, there is day shift, there is night shift, there is general shift. We don't know who sleeps when. And the complete lifestyle itself is affected for the urban living human beings, because of which the urban living human beings are suffering more than the rural living human beings. And because of this artificial light everywhere, we can switch on whenever we want, we can switch off whenever we want, because we are using electricity everywhere. Due to this, our lifestyle is greatly affected. Another reason is keeping the alarm in the mobile or in the alarm clock and waking up at a prefix time. That is also going to disturb the physiology of the body greatly. Now the brain will be involved in the secretion of hormones, and suddenly when the alarm rings, with great difficulty eyes will open, with great difficulty you will wake up. You can observe at that time that the body will have its own pains. The body is giving you a signal that The pain is a signal that I needed some more time for my secretion of hormones, and unnecessarily some sound made me to awaken the sense organs. In general, any big sound is taken as a threat when the body is sleeping. You can observe when the dogs and cats are sleeping simply, even for a small sound also, dog will wake up suddenly and dog will start howling. The reason is, even a small sound, dog thinks it is a threat. Whereas in our artificial lifestyle in the modern age, we will have sounds for so many of our gadgets and other things, due to which the sound itself is a disturbance for the body's rest. So, you will have to take care that your body has enough rest. Only then secretion of hormones will happen, removal of the old cells will happen, production of the new cells will happen, and many times the healing of the body will happen only when you are at rest. With this, I will proceed. Okay, I want to tell you one Subhashita which is there in Sanskrit, which says, शरीरे जर्जरीभूते व्याधिग्रस्ते कलेवरे औषधम जाह्नवीतोयम वैद्यो नारायणो हरि. This body gets aged and this body will become sick, and one fine day the body will become a corpse. For this body, the medicine is Jahnnavitoyam. The medicine is water, and the doctor is Narayana Hari, who is the indwelling self. Many times people twist this sentence and they will simply say Vaidyo Narayana Harihi. They will say that a doctor himself is God. No, in Sanskrita language, Karmapada can come first, Kartrapada can come next. Sanskrita has that speciality where even if you interchange the Kartrapada and Karmapada, subject and predicate, the meaning will not change. But in other languages it will change. So Vaidyo Narayana Harihi does not mean that a doctor is God. It means that God is doctor. Same way, when they say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshar Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, it does not mean that Guru is Brahma, Guru is Vishnu, Guru is Maheshwara, Guru himself is Parabrahma. It does not mean that. It means that Brahma is Guru, Vishnu is Guru, Maheshwara is Guru, Parabrahma himself is Guru. It means that way. As I told you in Sanskrita, subject and predicate can be interchanged. It can be at the left side or at the right side. The meaning does not change. In other languages, it changes. So we cannot say that Guru is Brahma. We should say that Brahma is Guru. Brahma is teaching the secret of life, birth. Vishnu is teaching the secret of maintenance of life. And Maheshwara is teaching the secret of death or dissolution or salvation or whatever. Parabrahma is teaching the secret of the game or the play in between life and death. I have been telling that God made it as a play and human beings have made it as a game. God has made this life and death as a play. It is his Leela. It is a method of transformation. Whereas humans have made it as a game where humans want to either win or lose, and they will keep on measuring successes or failures. That is when humans are stuck up in the karma. Now, Sharire Jarjari Bhute Vyadhigraste Kalevare Aushadam Jannavitoyam Vaidyo Narayana Harihi, which means the indwelling self, the God himself is the doctor, he himself is the healer, and if you supply adequate amount of water into your body, the water itself is going to become the blood. In the body, 70% is water only, nothing else. Water itself is the cause for life. So if inadequate amount of water is present inside the body, then the body will cleanse itself. Through the water only, the toxins of the body will be taken away during night time into the kidneys and into the bladder. So, Aushadam Jannavi Toyam Vaidyo Narayano Harihi. Whenever you have minor ailments or sickness, what you can do is you can keep on drinking warm water during the day, and as much as possible take rest simply. When you take rest on the bed, don't read books also. That was the mistake I was doing earlier, due to which I kept on losing my eyesight. Now I have eyeglasses and my vision, every 2 to 3 years I will have to go for eye testing because of my excessive reading. I was reading during traveling in the bus also. I was reading when I was sick also. Later on, I came to know that I should not have done that. So, whatever I did, you don't do. When you are taking rest, only take rest. Keep on meditating on the Lord's name. Keep on chanting His name. If possible, buy a japamala having 108 beads and keep on chanting Lord's name 108 times when you are sick and when you are taking rest on the bed. Unnecessarily don't check your mobile phone, don't read books, don't listen to TV or radio. Okay, this way, if you work out, most of the minor ailments will be solved in this way only just by resting, because aushadam jannavitoyam vaidyo narayano harihi. That is why I have told here, observe the body and understand the signals: aches, nausea, cough, cold, diarrhea, irritation, lack of taste and appetite. Drink enough warm water and fluids. Don't consume solid foods. I'll proceed further. Now, if the people who do not follow such lifestyle, for them an external doctor is required. There is already an internal doctor within. He is the one who is healing. Now, for all human beings, there are specialized doctors everywhere. What about all other animals and birds who are living in the forests and in the jungles and in the deserts everywhere, or even in water? Who is the doctor for all of them? Vaidyo Narayano Harihi. The indwelling self himself is the doctor. Now, the people who do not have such lifestyle, now the people will say that, sir, we are not like animals and birds, sir. We are human beings, sir. Yes, correct. That is why human beings are suffering more than animals and birds, because they have not understood about the indwelling self. For those people who are suffering, they require a external doctor. That I am going to discuss in the next slide now. So they require an external doctor. Now, what are the qualifications of an external doctor? Sushruta says this very clearly. Sanchayancha prakopancha prasaram sthana samshrayam vyaktim bhedancha yo vetti doshanam sa bhaved bhishak. Bhishak means the doctor or Vaidya. Sushruta says, who will become a doctor or a Vaidya? Whoever understands these 6 things. It is called a Shatkriya Kala, or 6 periods of disease. Toxin will go into the body either through the food or through the breath. Okay, sometimes toxins can go into the body even through the air into the ears, or it will go into the lungs through the nostrils. It can go through the eyes also, and it can go through the mouth also. Okay, sometimes these toxic words can go into your ears also. Somebody who will be using abusive or irritating or insulting words, that also is toxin only. But how to overcome that particular toxin, I am going to discuss when I start the presentation on how to take care of memory. For today, let us discuss only these physical toxins which are going into the body, especially through the food when they go. Let us say the toxin goes into the body, somewhere it accumulates, whether in the stomach or in the intestine, somewhere it accumulates. That accumulation is called sanchaya. After it accumulates, if it is not periodically removed, gradually one fine day, there will be germs there. Those germs will take a chance to multiply. When they multiply there, that is called aggravation. And after aggravation, let us say these germs still are not taken out of the system, they will spread there. That spreading is called prasara or extension. After spreading in the body, they will go to different corners of the body, and in those different corners, in each corner, they will make their own colonies and they will spread there also. That is called sthana samshraya or localization. And then afterwards, they will manifest in those places where they have localized. That is called vyakti. And after that, wherever they have manifested, there they will cause a variation or a health issue there. They will affect all those particular parts. That is called bheda. Now think about cancer. Why cancer is incurable? Problem is, cancer is very much curable if properly people understand Ayurvedic concepts. Cancer is not curable with the modern medicines, not with the ancient medicines. I had told you the example of Swami who stays at Dharwada near Managundi, blind Swami, Basavananda Swami, the great intuitive and intelligent person. He has cured so many people who had cancer also just by 10 days of fasting therapy. He has done it. Okay, so cancer has no cure as far as the modern medical science is concerned, because they have not gone through these 6 processes. They have not understood how the toxin went into the body, how the toxin aggravated, how the toxin extended, how the toxin localized, how the toxin manifested, how the toxin had variations wherever it manifested. That is why I have been telling you about the Panchakarma Chikitsa in Ayurveda. Vamana, Virechana, Basti, Nasya, Raktamokshana. Even vomiting is a therapy there, even diarrhea is a therapy there in Ayurveda. These people are yet to understand. Basically, what happens in that chikitsa is the toxins which are there in the body, they are going to be removed. That is the basic purpose of that Panchakarma Chikitsa. So, cancer has no cure because they gave time for the toxin. The person who got affected by cancer, he gave or she gave that much time. They did not take care of the body until then. They allowed the toxins to accumulate, to aggravate, to extend, to localize, to manifest, and to variate. In this way, they only became victimized for these germs. Basically, cancer is what? Some harmful germs are there inside. To fight harmful germs, now the blood cells or the body cells themselves will start multiplying. Either they will try to cover up or they will multiply. And when they multiply beyond a certain proportion, then they declare it as cancer, because the multiplication keeps on happening. Where there will be a heavy confusion, utter chaos inside the body about who is a friend or who is an enemy. If the toxic cells are less in number, then in the whole body there is a consciousness which knows which is a friend, which is an enemy. If the number of the germs increases in the body, then if they also multiply, then these soldiers also multiply. There will be a heavy chaotic condition where they will not be having any consciousness that who is enemy, who is friend. They will all start destroying each other. That is cancer. Now, somehow at that time itself, if the body gets cleansed through some other mechanism or some other therapy, then even cancer can be cured. But it requires a lifestyle change of the patient. Patient should have patience there. When the patient does not have a patience, then such disease also gets uncurable there. So Sushruta says, the person who understands these 6 processes, he himself is called as a doctor, or she herself is called as a doctor. Unfortunately, we should count how many people are well qualified to understand this particular shloka of Sushruta Sutra. My Paramaguru, Dr. Swami Geetanandagiri, used to say, he himself was an allopathic doctor. Later on, he completely changed his education into the yogic lifestyle. And he used to say that there are 4,000 diseases listed in the allopathic medicine, and nearly 60% of those diseases are named just by the doctor as variances. Actually, there are no 4,000 types of diseases there. They have named different types of other diseases itself as with the different nomenclature, and they have listed 4,000 diseases, which means people should get scared by just thinking that there are 4,000 diseases available. Even a common cold can be given many different names in the allopathic terms. Even a regular common cold, with its different styles, with the different people, it can be given many different names, which means doctors kept on giving each and every name for each and every ailment. Even for a headache, they have varieties of names for different types of headaches. But headache is basically headache. You use the head heavily and you did not supply energy to the body, you did not take rest, and you used your eyes heavily. Headache is not a disease as such. It is the body telling you that I am under pain, you give me rest. That is the meaning of headache. But people gradually label headache as a disease and they start taking painkiller. I have already told you many times, painkillers are brain killers. So if people understand that these are the 6 ways in which toxins go into the body, now it becomes our prime responsibility to detoxify our body and keep on detoxifying our body on a daily basis. That is where a great rasayana comes into picture now. I am going to tell about that now. This is that great rasayana. You can see at the center, you can see the Indian gooseberry, bettada nellikai. In Sanskrit it is called amalaki. This has lot of nutrients. Charaka says that this particular fruit is the king of fruits. Charaka says this. Why? Out of the 6 tastes, this particular fruit is having 5 tastes. Madhura, Amla, Tikta, Lavana, Katu, Kashaya. Sihi, Huli, Uppu, Kahi, Vagaru, Khara. Out of these 6 tastes, this particular better than Nellikai or Amalaki or Indian gooseberry is having 5 tastes except salty taste. ಉಪ್ಪು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದು 5 ರುಚಿ ಈ ಹಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಇದೆ. Except salty taste, it is having bitter taste, it is having astringent taste, it is having sweet taste, it is having sour state, and it is having, what is that? Which one I left out? One thing I left out. Sweet, sour, astringent, pungent, and bitter. These 5 tastes it is having. It is not having salty taste. As I have been telling you, there is no salty fruit, there is no salty vegetable on this earth when God produced it. People started using salt for their sake of having a taste. When they started consuming more and more of cereals and pulses, they started using salt as a material for taste. Otherwise, salty fruit or salty vegetable is not there in this nature. So Charaka says, as this particular fruit is having all the 5 tastes, Charaka says this is the king of fruits. As such, it is having enough nutrition also and medicinal content also. As Hippocrates has told, food shall be thy medicine, medicine shall be thy food. Same way. Now, along with this particular fruit, nearly 75% of this particular fruit, and then so many other medicinal herbs. You can see around, there are so many such medicinal herbs. There are nearly 64 medicinal herbs. Along with this Indian gooseberry or amalaki, totally 64 medicinal herbs and roots. I am going to show the list later on. Now this great rasayana is called Chavanaprasha. Why is it called as Chavanaprasha? I will tell you in the next slide. This Chavanaprasha is an immunity builder. It is an anti-aging agent. It is a detoxifier. It's a cardio caretaker. It is an anti-cancer agent because of all these ingredients. And why it is called as Chavanaprasha? This is one of my very favorite stories. And this story has a lot of relationship with myself because I belong to the lineage of Dr. Swami Geethananda Giri. His guru was Kanakananda Bhrugu, the sleepless saint, whose name is mentioned in the famous book Autobiography of a Yogi. And his guru was Swami Vividishananda. His guru was Swami Purnananda. Swami Purnananda's lineage went up and up and up, and they say that that was the lineage of Maharshi Bhrigu. So I am fortunate and proud to say that I belong to the holy lineage of Maharshi Bhrigu. And Chavana was the son of Maharshi Bhrigu. I am going to tell the story of Chavana now. Because of him only, this rasayana is called as Chavanaprasha. Chavana was the son of great Maharshi Bhrigu. Bhrigu himself was a Brahmajnani or Brahmarshi. And when Chavana was born, Chavana was also equally a realized soul. When Chavana was born to Bhrigu, in the young age itself, Chavana loved to meditate. And whenever Chavana used to meditate, Chavana used to go into Samadhi state. What is Samadhi? I will tell you briefly now. We will not discuss Samadhi in this presentation. Let us keep it for my last presentation. Sam A Adhi. A means coming towards. Some means with the proper eligibility. In Sanskrita, each upasarga has got its own meaning. Some means fully, A means coming towards the source. Adhi means the one which is the source, or Adhi means the one which is above us. So, fully coming towards the source of life. That is the basic meaning of Samadhi. In general terms, or as my friend Gopi requires a layman's term, in general terms or layman's term, Samadhi means egolessness. Every night when you go to sleep, you are becoming egoless. Whenever you wake up again, you are picking up the ego. In the awakened state, you have your own ego, me and mine. Right now, you have. Even when you go into dream, you have that me and mine. But when you go into deep sleep, you don't know that me and mine at all. You don't have that at all. So, in deep sleep, you are losing yourself. But you don't know that you are losing your ego. If you can try to become consciously aware of becoming unconscious, that is called as Samadhi. If you can try to lose your ego in the awakened state itself, then that is called Samadhi. Adi Shankara says a great definition for Samadhi as na jagaro napi sushupti bhavo na jeevitam no maranam vichitram. Na jagaraha na api sushupti bhavaha na jeevitam na maranam vichitram. The person who is in Samadhi is not awakened, napi sushupti bhavaha. He is not even sleeping. Na jeevitam, he is not alive. Na maranam, he is not dead. Vichitram. That is the greatness of Samadhi. There are so many beings also who go into Samadhi without their own knowledge. For example, polar bears go into a hibernation period. There are so many animals, sometimes some birds also, during winter season, they go into hibernation period. During that hibernation period, they think that they are sleeping. They will be sleeping for weeks together and months together. Inside a burrow, the squirrel may be sleeping for months together during winter period. And the whole burrow or the whole tree may be covered by ice. And that does not know that whether it is awakened or dreaming or sleeping. God made natural Samadhi in such beings. But for human beings, God gave a chance of understanding themselves or understanding their own self. So that is what is called as Samadhi. This was the great Chavana, who was Maharshi Bhrigu's son. In the young age itself, he had that samskara or culture of meditation, and he used to get into Samadhi. But normal people think that sleep is laziness. The people who proudly say that they work for 14 hours or 16 hours per day, what for? They work for 14 to 16 hours per day for earning more money, more status, more power. Someday they will become completely powerless, because whatever they earned with lot of efforts, they are all going to leave it here only. So for normal people, sleeping means maybe waste of time. I have told you the importance of sleep as health also. You have to have a adequate rest. But from the perspective of yoga, Samadhi and sleep are synonyms. You become egoless during sleep. If you can try to become egoless just like that by the practice of meditation, Dhyanam Nirvishayam Manaha. Next outcome of the dhyana is Samadhi. So, Chavana was into Samadhi. Wherever he used to go, he used to simply sit below a tree. Wherever in the village he used to go. And he used to go get into Samadhi. When he used to get into Samadhi, he used to remain still there for hours together. He never used to move his body also, because he was not having ego in the body itself. Now people started ridiculing him. Wherever he used to walk around, wherever he used to feel like sitting, maybe in a garden, maybe on the road itself, maybe on the walkway, he used to simply sit there, then he used to go into deep Samadhi. Now people started telling him that, hey Chavana, don't wander around here and there. Don't keep on blocking our path. You come here, you simply sit here, then we cannot move around freely also. Why are you sitting here and there? But Bhrigu knew his son. Bhrigu never disturbed his son's activities. because Bhrigu knew that his son goes into Samadhi, let him be that way. But people started telling Chavana that he is a disturbance in the village. Then Chavana asked those people, what should I do? Then people said, go somewhere near the riverside, sit there and meditate. Chavana agreed. He went to the riverside and he meditated on the riverside. He was meditating on the riverside for many days. One day what happened was, suddenly a heavy wind blew. When heavy wind blew, Chavana went into the river itself. Chavana went into the water. Chavana did not die, because Samadhi is breathlessness also. Samadhi is deathlessness also. Samadhi is not just egolessness. Remember the hibernation period. In the hibernation period, the beings will not die at all. But they may not be breathing also. When the squirrel is inside the tree, when the whole thing is covered by ice, how do you think the squirrel will be breathing? Where is the air for it to breathe? But it will be in the hibernation period. That is the wonder which the normal people are yet to understand. So Chavana went into water, he did not die there. Chavana did not know that he was in water also, because Samadhi is egolessness. In the river, some fishermen came to catch fish, and Chavana is inside the river now. They simply applied their net there in the water to catch fish, and then Chavana was caught inside the net. These fishermen thought that they have caught a very big fish, and they drew the net above, and then they saw Chavana inside. They drew him all the way till the boat, into the boat, and they brought him to land, and they started scolding him once again. What, Chavana? Even in the village you cause disturbance to people. Now we are coming to river for catching fish. Here also you are causing disturbance to us, man. What, man? Then Chavana said, people only told me to come near the river, I meditated. Now what should I do? These people, fishermen, said, go somewhere in the middle of the forest and sit there, man. Neither your father is bothered and nor you are bothered. You are bothering us only. Go somewhere to the forest and you do whatever you want to do there. Get into meditation, get into Samadhi, whatever. Don't disturb us. Chavana agreed. And Chavana went all the way to a forest. As I have already told you, Bhrigu is not bothered about Chavana, because the doctor is within. The doctor for a person who is in Samadhi, the doctor is within. Vaidyo Narayano Harihi. That is why I told you that my doctor is within. But don't ask me now, sir, have you gone into Samadhi? Don't ask me now. This is not the presentation where I will tell all those things. You will have to wait till the end. All the greatest good things, very precious things will come only at the end. And only until then, when the people are with us, only they will be fit to understand those things. Others will not understand these things also. For some of my audience, whatever I am talking in this art and science of eating also, that also may not be making sense to some of them. Out of the 80 plus people who sent me email, hardly 40 people used to attend online sessions. Which means what? Bhagavad Gita says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Out of thousands of people, only some of them want to understand me. Out of that some of them also, only a few will really understand me. That is what is told in the Bhagavad Gita. Which means people hardly want to know God, hardly want to know the self. Self-realization and God realization are one and the same. But people may not be wanting that. People want to understand always others only. People may not want to understand themselves. So out of the 80 plus people who sent me an email for this particular session, hardly 40 used to attend these sessions. And anyhow, others would have been thinking that I am sending the Google Drive link and going through the recorded sessions also. That is also fine. If they are going through the recorded sessions, that is also fine. I will be happy. But I doubt whether they are going through the recorded sessions at all. They may be busy watching TV serials, or they may be busy in their own kitchens, or they may have their own other priorities than listening to a stupid fool like Aravinda. Yes or no? Right now, the people who are listening to me, you and me, are wasting our precious time of 7:30 to 9 prime time in India to watch great and great movies and serials, right? So who is worried about that? So that is when it is difficult for people to understand Bhrigu or Chavana in that way. So when Chavana went into forest, he selected a particular place because the doctor for Chavana is within him. This Bhrigu knew that wherever my son goes, my son will be protected. So when Chavana went into forest, Bhrigu was not bothered. Imagine if there is a fish in the water, fish is worried about other fish attacking. Imagine if the fish submits itself to water, then is there not water for protecting the fish? Is it not the water which created the fish? Is it not the water which is maintaining the fish? Is it not the water itself which is going to take the fish, dissolve the fish within itself? Then fish has to have a contact with the water only in the first place. But fish thinks that danger is with other fishes. But if water can protect the fish, where is the danger for the fish? Same way when Chavana is with his own self in Samadhi, where there can be a threat. This Bhrigu knew, even Chavana knew. So Chavana went into the deep jungle, he meditated there for many years. He was in Samadhi for many years. And what happened was, after a few years, one ant hill grew around Chavana. Ant hill grew around Chavana. And when the ant hill grew around Chavana, even Chavana did not know what is going on. After a few years, in the adjacent kingdom, one princess came for a picnic along with her friends. The name of the princess was Sukanya. She came into the jungle here. She saw this ant hill. In the ant hill, she saw two glows coming out. In general, when a saint or a yogi is in Samadhi, eyes will be half open. When the eyes are half open, eyes will be radiating prana. I have already told you about Ojas, Tejas and prana. Eyes will be radiating Tejas as well as prana. There will be brightness, there will be radiance, there will be light. And that light was coming out. Sukanya thought there must be two glowworms. She took two sticks and pierced into the place where this glow was coming. Just for mischief and for fun, she did that. Suddenly, these sticks pierced into the Chavana's eyes. They were already half open. Chavana's eyes, and blood started oozing out of Chavana's eyes. Because of the pain, he came out of Samadhi. And he started crying inside. Sukanya was never imagining that there is a person inside the anthill. Suddenly, she thought there is somebody inside that anthill and he is crying. She did not know what to do. She suddenly rushed to the palace back and she called her father. Her father came. Her father told the soldiers to uncover the anthill, and there Chavana was sitting. Sukanya's father, I think his name is Prasena. I don't recall it fully. Most probably his name is Prasena. He asked Chavana, "Who are you?" And Chavana said, "I am Bhrigu's son Chavana, and I have been meditating here. I have been into Samadhi since many years. I was in the village, people told me to go to river. I was in the river, people told me to come to forest. I am in the forest here. Here I am not disturbing anybody. People themselves are disturbing me. Actually, I was not disturbing anybody. People only disturbed me. Now in the forest also people are disturbing me. I don't know who disturbed me. And they pierced something into my eyes and I came out of Samadhi. Why people cause pain to me?" Chavana was crying. Prasena told, "We are very sorry. This is my mischievous daughter. She did not know what she was doing. She thought it is two glowworms, and that is what she did. But she did it mistakenly, purposefully she did not do." And then the Prasena told his daughter Sukanya, "You should marry him now. You should take care of him now. He has become blind now. Now because of this pain, he cannot meditate also now. You have caused a tapobhanga to a great yogi now. So from now on, you have to become his dharma patni. You will have to take care of him." Sukanya agreed readily. and they built a small hermitage there in the forest itself, small hut there, and Chavana was there along with the Sukanya. Sukanya used to take care of her blind husband now. Every now and then, she used to nurture her blind husband. This went on for many years. After a few years, two angels, twin angels called Ashwini Devatas. Their name is Nasatya and Mandara. Two Ashwini Devatas, they wanted to test Sukanya's dedication towards her husband. So they came there. They were beautiful looking demigods. And they came there and they started instigating Sukanya against her own husband. They started telling, this is an old man, he is blind also. Why are you staying with him? Why don't you come with us? We will take care of you. You are a beautiful looking lady. We are beautiful looking angels. Why don't you come with us? And Sukanya told, no, no, no. It is me who caused grief for him, and it is my job to take care of him lifelong. I have taken that responsibility on myself. I will remain Chavana's Dharmapatni only. You people need not bother about us. You can go. And after repeated attempt, they could not succeed. Then they got very pleased with the Sukanya and they told her that we are not actually coming here to test you, not actually coming here to take you away. We came here just to check you. And in the real form, they exhibited themselves and they told, we are Ashwini Kumaras and ask a boon from us. Then Sukanya became so happy that they are actually Ashwini Kumaras, and Sukanya asked them, make my husband once again gain his eyesight. And these Ashwini Devatas healed that particular Chavana, and Chavana regained his eyesight. Now, some of my well-educated audience may think that this is all a stupid story. How can somebody who became totally blind, how can he be healed? And where are the angels? And what angels can do? In this 21st century, are there angels? If you doubt, then I'll ask you to read one book called Star Signs by Linda Goodman. One more book called Light Emerging by Barbara Ann Brennan. Read those two books and also read the great book called Autobiography of a Yogi. You will understand more about angels even in this 21st century. In spite of that, if you want to have an interaction with the angel, me and my yoga students already are in connection with one particular channel, one person who can channel an angel. And we have been visiting her. Now also, I recommend to some of my students to visit her for some of the peculiar problems. So if you want a proof already exists. I have already told you the body is made up of Panchakosha, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. When the body is made up of Panchakoshas, don't get carried away only by the physical body. Out of the 5 bodies, only one body is visible, other 4 bodies are invisible. Actually, you have got 5 bodies. Everyone has got 5 bodies. Other 4 bodies are not the subject matter of this particular discussion. So let me discuss only the physical body. So when these angels healed Chavana, he regained his eyesight. Then the Ashwini Devatas asked Chavana, Chavana, we gave a boon to your wife Sukanya. You ask a boon from us also. Now Chavana said, please go away. Enough is enough. Please go away. I don't want anything from anybody. Leave us alone. Just like that, leave us alone. Thanks that you made me gain my eyesight. But leave us alone. Then Ashwini Devata said, we are seeing a crazy person. Whenever we ask a person to ask a boon, they will ask 10 boons. You are a person, you don't want anything. Now Chavana said, I want to be with myself, with my inner self. I am content that way. When I was in village also people disturbed me. They told me to go to river. When I went to river, fishermen disturbed me. And fishermen told me to come to forest. When I came to forest, this Sukanya disturbed me. and now you people have come to disturb me. Don't disturb us, leave us just like that. I don't want any boon. Now Ashwini Devata asked, why are you so upset? Why are you so angry? And Chavana said, I am upset because people remain stupid. I am angry because people think they're intelligent, that they think that I am stupid. I am angry because me and my father are wise, but people think that we are stupid. I am upset because even their stupidity they are unable to understand. That is when they suffer. And they cause suffering to people like us also. Now Ashwini Devata said, on one side you say that you are angry on people, on the other side you seem to have a compassion towards the people also. Chavana said, yes, I have compassion. Whenever I see them suffering, I feel compassionate towards them. Then Ashwini Devata said, if you feel compassionate towards them, then why don't you give them a solution? Then Chavana said, what solution I have? When I meditate, I get my own solution. If they meditate, they will get the solution. But they are unfit to meditate. When they are unfit to meditate, their own mind, they are only making it toxified. Their own body, they are only making it toxified. When their body and mind, they are only toxifying on a regular basis, what solution can I give? Now Ashwini Devata said, yes, for their mental toxification, there is no solution. But for their physical toxification, there is a solution. Mental toxification, they only cause for themselves. For stupidity, there is no solution unless they learn their lessons. Lessons will be repeated until lessons are learned. That is what is the theory of karma. So, Einstein also has told that this universe may have an end, but the human stupidity may not be having an end. That is what Einstein has told. So, this Ashwini Devata has told to Chavana, for their mental toxification, we don't have a solution also, but for physical toxification, we can give a solution. Then Chavana told, yes, you tell the solution. Then this Devatas told, we will give that solution and you use it on yourself, you regain the youth. Because of the continuous penance, your body has become weak and you have become old. Now you regain your youth. Then you use the same formula and you advise the people also to use this formula in their day-to-day life for their physical toxification. That is the solution. And they told the formula of this particular rasayana, and afterwards it was named after Chavana because Chavana physically formulated it using 75% of Indian gooseberry and remaining 63 herbal medical ingredients. That is this great rasayana called Chavanaprasha. I am not advertising for Dabur or Baidyanath or Zandu or Dutta Papeshwar or Patanjali or such companies. I am not advertising. Those companies came into picture recently. But this formula of Chavanaprasha is there before Charaka Samhita, before Ayurveda. Ayurveda is part of main Vedas. Ayurveda is one of the Upavedas. I have already told about it earlier. So this Chavanaprasha is one of the greatest rasayanas, which is a boon of Chavana to the mankind. I cannot say mankind, mankind as far as 21st century is concerned. Okay, I am so fortunate that I also belong to Chavana's lineage. The source of Chavanaprasha, it is mentioned in Charaka Samhita, it is mentioned in Shargadhara Samhita, it is mentioned in Ashtanga Hridaya, it is mentioned in Bhava Prakasha, it is mentioned in Bhaishajya Ratnavali, it is mentioned in so many Ayurvedic textbooks. You can see at the center that is called as Lehya. I have already told about Bhaksha, Bhojya, Choshya, Lehya, Charvya, Peya. Chavanaprasha comes under Lehya. In our native place, till last decade, I don't know about the present decade now, till last decade, there used to be these Ayurvedic doctors, they used to prepare Chavanaprasha at their home itself. And my father and my maternal grandfather and so many of my other older relatives, they used to consume Chavanaprasha on a daily basis. Regularly, they used to consume Chavanaprasha on a daily basis. And I have seen how they have lived. They had very less ailments or very less health issues. because this is a detoxifying thing which they were consuming on a regular basis. They never knew that this is called Chyawanprash also. They always used to say only Lehya, Lehya, because sometimes they never used to pronounce also properly as Chyawanprasha. So they simply used to say Lehya. And the person who used to prepare this Lehya, he was called as a Lehya Pandita. And these Lehya Panditas or the Vaidyas, they used to personally go to the forest, pick up all these gooseberries and they process them and they used to boil them in water, add all these medicinal contents. You can see the video in easyayurveda.com where Dr. J.V. Hebbar has magnanimously put a lot of Ayurvedic content to his website. It is simply phenomenal. I have appreciated him also many times for his contribution. You can get into this easyayurveda.com and you can check the benefits of Chyawanprasha. There is a small video also posted about how Chyawanprasha is made. Even in YouTube also you can check this. But one word of caution is, many times some companies keep saying that Chyawanprasha contains this Indian gooseberry and Indian gooseberry contains enough vitamin C. So Chyawanprasha contains enough vitamin C. No, in Chyawanprasha there is no vitamin C because gooseberry is boiled in water along with the herbs. When it is boiled in water, vitamin C gets evaporated with the boiling. For if you want vitamin C, keep consuming directly gooseberry without boiling it, or have its pickle without boiling it, or consume oranges, lemons, mosambis. Don't think that Chyawanprasha is containing vitamin C. Chyawanprasha does not contain vitamin C. Chyawanprasha is basically a content having a lot of medical ingredients. It is not having a lot of nutrition. It is basically for detoxification and for cleansing. So don't go with the claim when people say that Chyawanprasha contains vitamin C because it contains Indian gooseberry. No. But because Indian gooseberry is used as a medium for carrying all these medicinal items, all these rare items, its fiber content is utilized there. Its other nutritional content is utilized there except vitamin C. There are 64 ingredients with Chyawanprasha. Aguru, Agragrahi, Anjira, Guduchi. Guduchi is nothing but Amritavalli. Kamalakesara, Karkata Shringi, Karchura, Kakanasa, Kushtha, Krishnaparni, Chandana, Sandalwood, Jatamamsi, Jeevanti, Jeshtamadhu, Tamalaki, Tulasi, Draksha, Nilotpala, Naidile, Punarnava, Pushkaramula. Punarnava, I should tell you, I brought a Punarnava pickle from this Lumiere's outlet. It is very good. People who are staying in Bangalore, you can try to buy this Punarnava pickle. Punarnava, Pushkaramula, Bala, Brahmi, Bhumyamalaki, Kannada they call it as Nelanilli, Mandukaparni, Madhusrava, Mashaparni, Mudgaparni, Mutsaka, Rasna, Lavanga, Vasaka, Shunthi, Haridra, Haritaki. Haritaki, Adalekai, Indian Myrobalan they say. Along with all these, Dashamula. Dashamula means 10 types of roots. Agnimantha, it is also called as Arani. In the Vedic period, they used to take these two sticks and they used to use it like a churning and the sticks used to catch fire. Through these sticks only they used to produce fire. Even now in some traditional orthodox homa, they produce fire using these sticks only. It is called Agnimantha. Then Kashmari, Patala, Bilva, Shionaka, Kantakari, Gokshura, Krishniparni, Brihati, Shalaparni. Vijay, mute mado.
Sorry, sir.
So these 10 roots, they are called Dasha Mula. These 10 roots. In Ayurveda, there is one Arishta called Dashamula Arishta. It is a very good immunity booster. Dashamula Arishta means all these 10 roots, their extract is kept in a herbally prepared alcohol. That herbally prepared alcohol is called Arishta. Now don't relate this alcohol with your regular alcohol of wine or whiskey or beer. This is a herbally prepared alcohol meant for preserving the medicinal contents. That is why all Arista and Asava are herbally prepared alcohols. And this alcohol is not consumed like wine or whiskey or like that, 30 ml, 60 ml, 90 ml, not like that. This medicine is taken only 1 teaspoon diluted with 1 teaspoon of water. That is how this medicinal content is taken. So there is a Dashamula Arista, which is a very good immunity giving medicine. In general, when we were kids, regularly our grandmother used to keep on giving Dashamula Arista. At our home, we always used to have Chavanaprasha and Dashamula Arista. That is the secret of our older generation's health. I'll advise all the listeners that you also keep this Dashamula Arista at home. Keep Amrita Arista at home. Whenever you have a mild fever, keep on taking Amrita Arista 3 times in a day. Now, because of this pandemic, people are afraid. I will advise you that now, even when you don't have fever also, keep on consuming this Amrita Arista 3 teaspoons per day. It will build your immunity. Okay. In general, people say that Ayurveda is slow. Why they say Ayurveda is slow? Because Ayurveda knows which one is heavily toxic, which one is less toxic. All medicines are basically mild poisons only. But Ayurveda knows the toxicity of each item. That is why to reduce the toxicity, they give lesser toxic medicine for a longer period so that immunity will build up. That is why people say Ayurveda is slow. Now you already know how fast it is, how slow it is. If at all you have taken a Virechana Gutika, you will know how fast it is. Especially in Ayurveda, there are some medicines which contain mercury. Now such medicines cannot be taken directly by a public unless a competent Ayurvedic doctor is giving prescriptions and suggestions. That is why even in Ayurveda there are heavily toxic items. I should also tell you one more example. Near Sagara in Shimoga district, there is one person, early morning he wakes up and there will be people standing in a queue for taking his medicine. And early morning he wakes up, goes to the forest and brings some barks of some wood which he knows, and those barks he brings, 7 types of barks he brings. Then to the patients he advises the decoctions of these particular types of barks. He only knows which bark is meant for which type of disease. Even cancer patients go there to take his treatment. So that is why Girdhar Kaja used to say that Ayurveda treats diseases by the root, treats diseases with the root. Here you can see this Dasha Mula, 10 types of roots. Okay, these 10 types of roots, they are preserved in a medicine called Dashamula Arista. Now Chavanaprasha's greatness is that in Chavanaprasha also this Dashamula is there. If you keep on consuming Chavanaprasha, then you need not take Dashamula Arista as such. But some people, when they put this lehya into mouth, they feel as if, what paste it is. Some modern people, they give such remarks there. Some paste is there inside the mouth. They make a mockery out of it. But you keep consuming so many other types of pastes also. That paste is okay for you. Many pasty foods the people regularly consume, that is okay with them. When they consume Chavanaprasha, they make a fun of it. So for such people who make a fun of it, only let them consume Dashamula Arista. Otherwise, if in your regular lifestyle, if you include this Chavanaprasha, I'll tell you later on how to include this in your regular diet. If you include this Chavanaprasha, no need of Dashamula Arista. Now, along with Dashamula Arista, it contains one more thing called Ashtavarga. Ruddhi, Vruddhi, Kakoli, Kshira Kakoli, Rishabhaka, Jivaka, Meda, Mahameda. This whole thing is called a Ashtavarga. Totally 8 types of herbs. I have been telling you about SN Pandit's Chavanaprasha, especially because they add this Ashtavarga also. On the bottle, they print it as Ashtavarga Yukta. So, I'll tell you 3 brands which are special. 3 brands you should have. These 3 brands you should have at home. One is SN Pandit, one is Organic India, one is BV Pandit. These 3 brands you should have. They are very good in taste also. They are very good in their medicinal content also. Even kids can consume them. I had a question about whether kids should consume Chyawanprash, and my answer is after 6 years of age, give half teaspoon of Chyawanprash even to the kids. After they attain 12 years of age, give them 1 teaspoon only, and you also take 1 teaspoon. How to take later on, I'll tell you. Now, why I am telling it to kids also? Because in the modern lifestyle, even kids are subjected to all types of biscuits and chocolates and all types of packed and junky foods. Now, when the kids are also consuming junk foods in the young age itself, I can imagine the toxicity in their blood. The parents may not imagine when they give those much of biscuits and chocolates and bakery items and all types of junk foods, pani puri, bel puri, and pizzas. I have been seeing in some pizza corners, even mother is drinking Coca-Cola, Pepsi. She is telling her small kid also to drink Coca-Cola, Pepsi. Now you can imagine in the young age itself how much of toxicity they take into their bloodstream. So even kids, when they attain 6 years of age, they should be given half teaspoon of Chyawanprash, and adults should take 1 teaspoon of Chyawanprash before breakfast. That I'll tell you later. Okay, SN Pandit, then Organic India, then BB Pandit. These 3 brands you have at home. One day, one brand, you taste it that way. Or you finish one brand 1 week, let us say. Continuously for 1 week, you take one brand. Next week, you take another brand. That way. If at all you want more brands, Shri Shri Ayurveda, Ravi Shankar Guruji's product, that is also a very good Chyawanprash. Then there is one more company called Navadarshanam. Some enthusiasts, they have a farm at the border between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Somewhere after what is that? Near Attibele, what is that? Ane, some places there, no? Some Ane. I don't recall it fully now. When I recall, I'll tell you. Somewhere near the border between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, they have their farm. And these people, they are enthusiasts who grow their own herbs, and through their own organic herbs, they produce a lot of organic products also. You can go through their website. They have very beautiful organic products. I have been using their products also. One of their products is Navadarshanam Chyawanprash also. So you can have SN Pandit, you can have Organic India, you can have BB Pandit, you can have Shri Shri Ayurveda, you can have Navadarshanam. Beyond that, you can also have Himalaya, you can also have Patanjali, you can also have Dabur, you can also have Baidyanath, you can also have Zandu, you can also have Dotpapeshwar. You can experiment yourself with different brands. Whichever you like it, you can keep taking it. Because Vata, Pitta, Kapha, based on your body's constitution, some of them you may like by its own taste. Whichever you like it, you keep on consuming it more. There is nothing wrong even if you take all these brands one after the other. But all the bigger brands may not put all those ingredients as such. That is where I doubt them. All the bigger brands may not put all these 64 ingredients as such. That is why I shortlisted the major 3 brands plus 2 brands. Okay, next the major ingredient in Chyawanprash is Amalaki. I have already told you. Along with that, it has Taila, Ghruta, Sharkara, then it has Chaturjata, Yela, Cardamom, Tejapatra, Daruchini, Nagakesara. This we call it as Chakke. And Yele, Patra, Pippali, Vamshalochana, Madhu, and Kunkuma Kesara. These are the major 64 ingredients. Along with that, there can be some substitutions. Let us say some brands, they may not use Ashtavarga. Instead of Ruddhi and Vriddhi, they can substitute it with Varahi Kanda. This is mentioned in the Ayurvedic books. Instead of Kakoli, Kshira Kakoli, they can substitute with Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is regularly available. Whereas this Ashtavarga, these are very rare herbs. Everywhere these very rare herbs may not be available. And the situation is that even to identify these particular herbs, it requires a vast knowledge of these plants. So, Rishabhaka and Jivaka can be substituted with Dari Kanda. Meda and Mahameda can be substituted with Shatavari. Sharkara, with the Matsyandika, if they don't want to include Sharkara, this Sharkara is not the industrial sugar we are talking about. In Ayurveda, sugar is prepared organically from the sugarcane juice, not through the factory, not by adding chemicals. That was called as Sharkara in Sanskrit. So Sharkara can be replaced with Matsyandika. Matsyandika is sugarcane juice itself. Vamshalochana. Vamshalochana is from the bamboos. They extract their seeds. It's a very rare seed. Once in 12 years, it releases its seeds. Vamshalochana, because it is very rare, once in 12 years they have to find out. Instead, they can substitute with Tugakshiri. And there can be preferred additions like Abhraka Bhasma, Shukti Bhasma, Shringa Bhasma, Makaradhwaja, and Rajata. Shukti Bhasma and Rajata. Rajata is silver. Shukti Bhasma is pearl. The pearl is burnt into ash, and that ash is used as Shukti Bhasma. Shringa Bhasma, the horn of a deer, is burnt and its ash is used. Makaradhwaja is one of the famous medicines in Ayurveda. It is put as rare elements in Chyavanprasha. These are all additional substitutions. So you can see Chyavanprasha is a great asset to mankind, to keep their physical health intact, to keep their body detoxified. Okay, Anekal, correct. I did not recall that word there. Near Anekal, after Anekal, and Manoj has given the name also here. Ganganagahalli hamlet, Gumalapuram village. There they have this place called, this organization called Navadarshanam. I have not yet met them. I am waiting for this lockdown to be completely relaxed so that we can go as a team and we can visit them once all things become relaxed. Otherwise, they may also be afraid if a lot of people come there. That's why I'm waiting for some time. We may not be able to go there in the next 6 months also. But at least by 2021, I have an ambition to meet these people who are doing a very noble work. Benefits of Chyavanprasha. In Charaka Samhita, it is categorized under Rasayana and is rich with antioxidants and rejuvenative herbs. Let me take 1 minute break for drinking water. It strengthens the circulatory and excretory systems. It improves digestive power and immunity power. It helps to balance the equilibrium of the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Actually, Chyavanprasha balances Vata, balances Kapha, but it increases Pitta. It balances the gastric trouble. It works as a cure for gastric trouble. It works as a cure for cold also. But it is not a cure for heat. Actually, Chyavanprasha increases the heat to some extent because of the medicinal content. So, Chyavanprasha should not be consumed alone. With Chyavanprasha, cow's ghee should be consumed. Put 1 teaspoon of Chyavanprasha into your mouth before breakfast, and into your mouth you put 1 teaspoon of Chyavanprasha, then put half teaspoon of cow's ghee and you chew them together and you swallow. Then take your breakfast. If you don't like cow's ghee, then you put this 1 teaspoon of Chyavanprasha, chew it and swallow it, then drink half cup of lukewarm cow's milk. So that way this ghee and milk will pacify the pitta of Chyavanprasha itself. That is why this is called Anupana. If Chyavanprasha is Pana, this ghee and milk is Anupana. So that way, along with the ghee or milk, it is going to pacify Pitta also. That way, it is having the balance of three dosha, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. This you do it before breakfast in the morning. Let Chyavanprasha be there in your stomach before your food goes there. Because we don't know in your food what all is there. So let Chyavanprasha aid in the digestion process, let it detoxify the food in the stomach itself. That is why I keep telling you Chyavanprasha should be taken before breakfast. This is not just my advice, this is the advice of Dr. J.V. Hebbar, who has done a lot of studies on Chyavanprasha. Now, other rasayanas which I had told you earlier, called Amalaki rasayana or Ashwagandha rasayana, all those other rasayanas, that you can take after supper along with the cow's milk. So this improves digestion and cleanses the gastrointestinal tract, because Chyavanprasha goes along with the food into the small intestine and it cleanses that tract so that it avoids scaling in the gastrointestinal tract. It is useful in cough, cold and chest infections. I have already told you Kapha dosha is eradicated by Chyavanprasha because of its medicinal content. Improves intelligence and memory power. Why? Because it cleanses the blood. When it cleanses the blood, clean blood is pumped by the heart to the brain, and the brain will have more nutrition and you will have more efficiency of the brain. It improves the nutritional levels of the body tissues, and it delays the aging of cells and cures wrinkles. It delays the aging of cells because it kills almost all the germs which are there in the gastrointestinal tract. So these germs will not go into the blood at all. That way the aging of the cells is reduced. It provides deep nourishment to all the 7 dhatus: rasa, rakta, mamsa, medas, asti, majja, tvak. These are called 7 dhatus. I don't have the equivalent English words for them, so let me use the same Sanskrita words: rasa, rakta, mamsa, medas, asti, majja, tvak. These are the 7 dhatus which the body is made up of. Improve skin luster and strength of sense organs. So before breakfast, consume 1 teaspoon followed by either ghee or milk. This I have already told you. I am coming to the almost the end of this presentation. God has produced varieties of vegetables and fruits. So somebody has made a slide here and I am presenting it here. All the white colored vegetables and fruits are for immunity support. Green colored vegetables and fruits are for detoxification. Yellow colored fruits and vegetables are for beauty. Orange colored fruits are for cancer prevention because of vitamin C. And red colored fruits are for heart health because of iron content, and purple colored fruits are for longevity. That way you eat all colors for your health. This is a very difficult slide. I don't know whether you will be able to follow this complete slide. Even I am unable to completely follow this slide because it requires a cooperation of all the family members. It requires a cooperation of all the family members. It may be very difficult to educate all your family members that way. So, but as much as possible, I am trying to fulfill this slide. This menu I made with a lot of collection of data and studies. Somehow for myself, I made this menu so that let me have a variety of breakfast, variety of supper, and all of them nutritious also, all of them easy to digest also, all of them are healthy also. That way I have listed, for each day I have listed 2 types of breakfast, 2 types of supper. That way lunch I am leaving it to you only. Lunch many of us have no choice as such, but at least for breakfast and supper we have a choice, I presume that way. So you can see pearl millet or sajja ganji or dose. Navara rice is available. It's an organic rice, very good quality rice. Or red rice is available, kempakki. You can prepare a gruel of that rice. And for supper, you can have either accurate or you can have boiled tapioca or boiled seeds also. On Tuesday, you can have a white rice with fenugreek and cumin seeds. That ganji or gruel you can be having. Or you can have finger millet flour porridge, ragi ambli you can have. For night, you can have ragi mudde or ragi roti, or haraka is available as a millet. Haraka rice can be used as a regular rice along with the sambar or rasam. Or haraka uppit also can be prepared, or haraka upma can be prepared. Black rice is available. It is also called as Burma rice. It also yields a lot of starch there. Kappakki ganji or black rice gruel can be prepared. or great millet with moong dal ganji can be prepared. This great millet or jowar, even after you boil it for many times, it will not release all its starch outside. So if you add moong dal, it will become slightly sticky and it will have more starch, more consistency it will have. But it is delicious. This jowar ganji or jowar gruel is delicious. You can have jolada rotti or jolada mudde. You can prepare jolada mudde also just like ragi mudde. Jolada mudde is also equally delicious. Even I was not knowing that jolada mudde is possible. One of my friends called Lakshmipati, who was from Davanagere, he told that at Davanagere they consume jolada mudde also. Later on at our home, I experimented preparing mudde along with the cooperation of my wife, because she only has to prepare this mudde. I brought quinoa flour, I brought buckwheat flour, and I told her to prepare and mix these also along with the ragi flour and prepare mudde. That is also possible. That is also delicious. You can bring quinoa flour also. You can bring buckwheat flour also. You can mix them in proper proportion. You can prepare mudde of all those items. Or you can have vegetable soup or salad. Thursday, you can have a red boiled rice, kochige akki ganji. Mangalore Udupi side, they call it as kochige akki. Almost coastal Karnataka side, people consume this particular rice regularly. Or you can have a little millet called same. You can have same gruel, or you can prepare a uppittu out of same also. For night, you can have a godi dosa, or you can have a sajja roti or sajja mudde also. That pearl millets, flours, mudde can be prepared. For Friday, you can have a barnyard millet, udalu. Either udalu gruel, udalu ganjar, udalu uppittu, or you can have a great millet for porridge. You can have a jola ambali also. Out of the jola flour or jowar flour, you can prepare ambali. See, either ambali or dosa or mudde or ganji, how many varieties? This lesson I learned from Yogavana Swami only. That he said, all these also can be prepared, not just ganji. The same mudde, it can be as a dosa. It can be varieties. It's the same item. Or you can have a pongal or khichdi, or you can have a rajamudi or kempaki rice. Rajamudi is a great rice quality, organic rice quality available heavily in the Gurur district of Karnataka state. They grow a lot using a organic manure. We have gone there, we have visited there. And once when we went there, we went to a rice mill there. We told the rice mill owner not to polish this rice at all directly. Only husk should be removed. Otherwise, all the fiber content and the rice should be as it is available. And we got that rice to our home. That is the advantage we have when we directly go to the rice mills. Otherwise, they polish it heavily and the nutrition is lost. So Rajamudi rice or Kempaki you can use. For Saturday, you can use this Korle Ganji. It is called brown top millet. Korle Ganji, Korle Uppittu, or you can have a white rice with grated coconut. This is a very tasty gruel which you can have. For night, you can have chapati or pulka. You can have a Gandasale rice. Just like in North India, they have a Basmati rice. In South India, we have this Gandasale. Especially in Karnataka, we have this Gandasale rice, which is an aromatic rice and a nutritious rice. Then on Sunday, you can have a proso millet, baragu ganji or baragu uppittu. You can have either you can have this or you can have brown rice with sesame seeds. Brown rice is available, which is a special type of rice where its husk is completely intact. And when you boil it, it opens up like a flower. So that brown rice, which is also very delicious with a lot of fiber content. For night time, you can have a neer dosa, which in general, Udupi Mangalore side, they will be regularly having even for breakfast. You can have a navane raisu, navane uppittu. Navane means foxtail millet. You can consume its rice itself as a regular rice along with the sambar or rasam, or you can prepare a bisivelabath of this navane foxtail millet also. You can prepare a uppittu of navane also. It is difficult to maintain such a life discipline where you may be ridiculed by so many other well-educated neighbors or well-educated relatives or friends, but you must be ready for that. When I brought this lifestyle change in my home, there was enough fun, but I tolerated all that. Gradually, those people isolated themselves from us. And it was better for me, it was better for them. When they could not understand Chavana, in what way they can understand us? We cannot expect that. Ashwagandha Rasayana can be taken regularly, no sir, or weekly 3 to 5 times is fine. Ashwagandha Rasayana can be taken regularly every night after supper. Any Rasayana as such can be taken regularly because Rasayana is not fully a medicine. Rasayana to some extent is nutrition also. Except the Chavana Prasha, all other Rasayanas, they are having a nutritional content also. Chavana Prasha, nutrition content is less, medicinal content is more. Food pyramid, I have already discussed a lot. This is only a summation now. Least is fats and sweets. Less is pulses and nuts. Moderate is milk producers. More is grains and cereals. Most is fruits and vegetables. In your diet, you should have, in a day, you should have maximum amount of fruits and vegetables as much as possible, organic fruits and vegetables. Then you should have more grains and cereals like rice, wheat, or ragi, or millets, or jowar, or all such grains and cereals. These are carbohydrates. And you should have moderate milk producers. Along with milk, you should have butter, buttermilk, curds, and ghee. As much as possible, reduce paneer and cheese because they are concentrated fat. Keep consuming paneer and cheese, no problem, but reduce their content. If you eat more, then you are allowed to burn it. Less of pulses and nuts. Let there not be excess of protein. Let protein be lesser because that protein is there in fruits and vegetables also. And least is fats and sweets. I told about paneer and cheese and about oils. All that is all heavily fatty substances, reduce them. Even heavily sweety substances, reduce them. Can Chyawanprash be consumed by diabetic patients? For diabetic patients, as of now in the market, sugarless Chyawanprash is also available. But I have not purchased it till now. I have not gone through the branding also. I don't know the brands as such. But you can find out. I think Dabur is also available. Sugarless Chyawanprash is available. So that can be taken by even by diabetic patients. Look at the God's Bank. I have been telling about the God's Bank regularly. This is God's Bank. And I keep telling that jackfruit is one of the most evolved fruits because this one fruit contains so many fruits inside, so many seeds inside. God has created life in such a way that it is Udbhija, Svedaja, Andaja, Jarayuja. Udbhija means the one which sprouts, Svedaja means one which is born in water, Andaja means the one which is born through eggs, and Jarayuja means the one which is born through uterus. Now God made Udbhija as plants where it is sprouting. But look at this jackfruit, it will have hundreds of fruits, each is having hundreds of seeds. Now the monkeys or the other animals, which even bears, when they take away this jackfruit, ripe jackfruit, they will consume only the fruit pulp and they will throw the seeds away. When they throw the seeds away, wherever the seeds are thrown, there are chances that the seed will sprout and again one more jackfruit tree will be born there. This is God's way of spreading species. Later on, Charles Darwin understood it and Charles Darwin theorized it. Now people say Darwin's theory of evolution. It is not Darwin's theory of evolution. Evolution was there much before Darwin. Evolution started ever since life started on this earth. So God has been evolving varieties of plants, varieties of birds, varieties of animals, varieties of flowers for his own satisfaction. He made a crow, he made a cuckoo, he made a cock, he made a peacock for his own satisfaction. He made a rose flower also, he made a lotus flower also for his own satisfaction. We should just look at this nature and we should wonder about the varieties of creation which he is right now also doing. That way, this is God's bank where he is yielding so much of fruits in a particular branch in a tree. Now this is another great mother. Complete body of her is filled with jackfruits. This is another special fruit. I don't know the name of this. This is not Indian fruit, some other fruit, but it is similar to jackfruit. You can see the structure here. Internally, this here it contains all its seeds, and here you can see the pulp. This is another delicious fruit. This is right now available in Bangalore also. My habit is that I'll keep visiting all these places where all varieties of fruits are sold. For my own curiosity, I bring some of the fruits to my home. Sometimes they are expensive also, but still to understand the varieties of God's creation, I bring them home and I consume them. Some of them I like, some of them I dislike. Some of them may not be always tasty. But this particular fruit is really very tasty. This is called a star apple. It is also called as mangosteen. This particular pulp is very sweet and tasty. It has got a seed inside there. You can all consume this and you can wonder at God's creation and you can appreciate. This is another tree which is having all fruits around it. I don't know the name of this tree. I just took it from Google Images. This is a special tree which I only planted when I was in 9th standard. This tree, one coconut had 3 sprouts. And my eldest uncle told me, he used to call me Babu, and he told me, actually at that time my eldest uncle was very much interested in all these plantations. And he told me, let Babu only plant it. And in front of our ancestral house, even today this is there. It's a single coconut with 3 sprouts, gradually grew into 3 branches. All the 3 branches are yielding coconuts. This is one of God's great wonders. Now this is another fruit called dragon fruit. Even though it is not from China, they called it as dragon fruit. Because of its appearance, they called it as dragon fruit. This is not from China actually. So this particular fruit has got enough delicious pulp, and this is also quite tasty fruit. You can keep consuming it. And you can wonder in different parts of this earth what all varieties of fruits God has created. This is a delicious meal. Maybe this is an Onam meal, or this may be a special meal which is prepared in Kerala. You can see a red boiled rice here. You can see a fried papad, one banana and one kheer, and different types of sambar and rasam, and different types of other delicacies, all types of curries, and here buttermilk is there, and here tapioca item is there, here jackfruit item is there, and here also you can see some pickles and curries. So it has got carbohydrates, it has got fat, it has got proteins, it has got vitamins, it has got minerals. So this is a complete meal as such. You can see the rice content is less here. Fruit is also there. Rice content is less. Fruits you can consume later also after this meal is over, because rice content is really very less here. So that way, this is a complete, highly nutritious meal. Is it okay to take fruits after meal? Yes, it is very much okay to take fruits after meal, because fruits are not heavy to the stomach. Fill this meal only for about 50%, then remaining 25% fill it with fruits only, no problem. I understood all uncooked natural foods like fruits, which doesn't require much time, assist to digest, as still cooked meal digestion progress. Is it good to take fruits at this time? No problem. When you take meals in the beginning itself, later you take fruit, stomach will have less stress. Because as soon as food goes into the stomach will start secreting acid for its digestion. But later on, once the fruits goes into there, stomach will sense them, and it will not put more of its efforts to digest fruits. That way, it is better that you take fruits at the end of the meal. That is quite fine. In fact, that has been a custom here, that after food only they used to take fruits and milk before going to sleep. Okay, it is already crossing 9. I'll have to quickly wind up now. These are my last slides anyhow. This is an invention of Karnataka state itself, or to be precise, it's an invention of the coastal Karnataka itself. This is called Tambuli or Tampu Huli. This is a coolant. Tampu means coolant. Huli means sour in taste. It is sour in taste and it is a coolant to the digestive system. So what you have to do is, all these items one by one you can use. You need not mix all of them. You can choose any one or two or three of them for a particular day. You can choose the leaves of Ondalaga, Bilva, Vilya, Dodpatre, Garuga. These are all Kannada names. Search in Google for their English equivalents. You can choose sprigs of Nelanelli, Atti, Amritaballi, Sabbasige. You can choose the flowers of Tumbe, Bilidaswala, Ashoka, Nugge. You can choose the corms of Irulli, Bellulli, Shunthi, Shatavari. Or you can choose the rinds of Dalimbe and Kittale and Hire. It is very difficult to type Kannada in English, because English is a very funny language where script is something else and pronunciation is something else. Some of the Kannada words cannot be put in English at all. For example, Buddha. How do you write it in English? Buddha, when you write it in English, if you say Buddha, some people pronounce it Buddha, some people pronounce it Buddha. How to write Buddha? It may not be possible to write Buddha in English at all. That way, English is a funny language. But English is a global language now. We are also using English language for our communication. We have no other choice. So you can choose any of these. Method is, choose any one particular item per day. Fry the item in ghee along with cumin seeds and dried chilies. Fenugreek, carom seeds, black pepper and turmeric can also be added. Grind the fried items along with 1 cup of grated coconut. Later mix 1 cup of buttermilk and a little amount of salt. Finally, season with mustard seeds, curry leaves and asafoetida. Mix in the hot cooked rice and you can consume it like that. For a hot cooked rice, just like you add chutney or sambar or rasam, you can mix this tambuli and you can consume it. This has got a medicinal quality also. It is good for digestion also. This is my Paramaguru, Dr. Swami Geethananda Giri. I'll tell more about him in my future sessions only, because already time is up now. You can see he is a food lover. In generally, people say that monks have to be renunciates. Monks should not enjoy life. But my Paramaguru is a Rishi. Monks can be renunciates. Monks can leave out all the pleasures. But Rishis are family men. Rishis are with their family. My Paramaguru's wife Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani, even now she is continuing the tradition which her husband started. And my Paramaguru's son Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani is spreading the teachings of his father all around the globe. You can search for his contribution in Facebook or in Google. Lot of articles he has written on the research about yoga. And he has established a center. 2 centers they have. One is their own center called ICYER and one more center called CYTER at Balaji Vidyapeeth, Pondicherry. You can go through the internet to check all his achievements. During this lockdown period, daily one video he posted on Facebook, live video, daily half an hour video. He has made 75 videos and he put it in Facebook. I told him, you have to make 108 videos and you should call it as Ashtottara Shata Yoga Drishya. 108 yoga videos. They are all treasures. You can go through Facebook to check his contributions and his activities also. Now, behind this Dr. Swami Geethananda Giri, you can see some pictures. Geethananda Giri, along with this wife Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani, they started one small organization called Yoganjali Natyalayam in Pondicherry. Adults can be taught with yoga, whereas kids should be taught with dance. They used to teach yoga also to the kids. They used to teach classical dance also to kids. That is how they brought very good Indian culture to the adults as well as the children of Pondicherry. That work is continuing even now. And some of the people who were part of Yoganjali Natyalayam, now they have become well qualified doctors and they are also involved in this noble work. That way, I am so happy to say that I belong to a lineage where Real work is happening, but not with much hype or sound. Silently, a small revolutionary type is happening where our Gitananda Giri used to select only 10 people per year. And he used to say that I will never create disciples, I will create teachers. And that is what he exactly did. Even now, they take only 10 people maximum for a 6 months residential yoga training program, that is a yoga teacher training program. Before that, they conduct nearly 1 to 1.5 years of correspondence course. Whoever qualifies the correspondence course, only they are taken there. My Guru Narsimurti was one of them. I am so proud to say, and I am thankful to my friend Srinath that he introduced me to my Guru Narsimurti. My Guru Narsimurti is one of them who went there for 6 months residential program, and later on also he went again twice for the revision course. He first went to meet Dr. Swami Gitananda Giri somewhere in 1968-1969. I came in contact with my Guru in 1998-1999. Nearly for 45 years, he has taught Ashtanga Yoga in Bengaluru silently, and he has done a silent revolution in the path of yoga. Even many of the people, they may not be knowing my Guru's name, Narsimurti, but he has taught thousands of people in the last 45 years. That is the great service which the people who are in our lineage are doing. That way I am fortunate that I also belong to this particular lineage. With this I will conclude. This is my last slide. We have happily and satisfactorily completed 12 sessions on art and science of eating. I would advise my audience to go back once again from the very first session and revise all of that once again. Otherwise, you will keep forgetting whatever you have learned. So please, I have shared all the Google link drives. In future, link of the Google Drive. In future, along with my student Vijay who is also there in this session right now, he has done a human service of helping me in establishing our website and in establishing this YouTube channel also. In future, we are going to upload all these videos into YouTube channel also, so that let it be useful to anybody who want to make use of it. You can share all these videos among anyone whom you want to share. There are no restrictions at all. As my good friend Dr. Anand Balayogi says, sharing is caring. So that way, I hope all these 12 sessions have been useful to all of you. If at all you ask for my future sessions, I'll gradually schedule them and I'll keep you informed. Until then, take care, live healthy, live happy, and bye bye.